Hi everyone. So my name is Živilė Mantrimaitė, and I work for circular economy in Lithuania Žiedinė ekonomika. I work as a renewable energy campaigner, but apart from that, in Žiedinė ekonomika, we also work on waste management and food sharing and things like that. However, mostly on the advocacy level rather than local opportunities there. But we work next to and kind of run this, just wanted to mention this Stotelė Dėkui, which is an actual local swap shop in Tuskulėnų gatvė. So yeah, if you're in Vilnius, please come and visit us, and you can leave your old stuff and take some new stuff. So yeah, but today I'm going to speak about the renewable energy communities and also just about that, because there are a lot of different opportunities in Lithuania to start producing or using renewable energy. So we already got the prosumers mentioned and also a possibility to buy from remote solar parks. But renewable energy communities is quite a new concept in Lithuania. So we wanted to talk about this. And also we were we're still part of this project together with Denmark and Latvia, which is looking at renewable energy communities. And that project is also funded by Nordic Council of Ministers office in Lithuania. So I'm coordinating this project, and I will just share what has happened so far. Okay. So the renewable energy communities have been quite popular in, let's say, Western Europe, also Northern Europe. That's why we were working with Denmark on this project. But they are very, very new for not just for Lithuania, but for Eastern Europe in general. They, as prosumers or as commercial renewable energy users, they contribute to reducing the impact of climate change and currently fighting the soaring electricity prices. However, the difference between the commercial solar or wind projects and renewable energy communities is that the renewable energy communities give this opportunity to promote cooperation and also energy democratization between people. The other thing is that the economic benefit stays within the community, so it's not taken outside. So the French agency, Environmental and Energy Agency in 2019 has done this small research about the economic value that renewable energy communities produce, and they actually managed to prove that renewable energy communities produce 3 times more economic value for the municipality that they're working in than same size or same scale commercial renewable energy projects. So that's quite a lot, and that is because for renewable energy communities, the communities, when they get profit, the main thing is that they need to reinvest the profit back into the community projects. And also, why is it important is because this is one way to include families that currently what we call the families in energy poverty. So families who can't pay for their energy bills. Renewable energy communities is actually a really good way to include them, because renewable energy communities can be large and can include families that can pay a bit more and families that can't pay at all. So there's a possibility for them to participate in renewable energy production without actually investing a lot of money into it. And I think that's also the big difference, because to become a prosumer in Lithuania is quite easy. I mean, you get some financial support, but there are people who can't, even without financial support, can still afford to build solar panels. But if they could participate in the renewable energy community that already has those solar panels, they can participate in the renewable energy production. And so in Lithuania, renewable energy communities have actually legally been defined in 2019, first time, but that legal definition was really bureaucratically, let's say, unfriendly. So since then till now, we don't have any renewable energy communities here legally. But since the end of June, we had the law change, and now it's definitely possible to create renewable energy communities, but I think it's such a new concept and people don't know about it as well, so that's why we don't have any, and that's why we're doing this presentation, so people know about this and how to create one. So in Lithuania, it's any not-for-profit legal body, so it can be association and NGO, and then the decisions in the statutes of this non-profit legal body, when is it registered, or if you're making it like new statutes for already registered one, you need to define that the decisions for like energy production and energy sharing are made by the people who participate in the energy community, as well as participating institutions. The participating institutions in renewable energy community can be municipalities, can be just a person, can also be small or medium-sized businesses. But they do not allow, for example, big businesses to come into renewable energy communities, and I think that's quite important because they are not for profit. It can supply, the difference between prosumers and renewable energy communities is that renewable energy communities supply the electricity to the people that participate in them, but also they can sell like if they make more energy than people use, they can sell those to the grid. Prosumers, usually prosumers produce energy just goes into the grid, it's stored, and then with an extra fee is given back to them. So in this way, as I mentioned, renewable energy communities can make profit, but that profit later goes back into the community. And they also have to be committed to create environmental, social, and economic benefits to the surrounding communities and municipalities. And I also thought to share some examples, not from Lithuania because we don't have any, of how it actually worked in practice. And I was trying to look for some examples, not just to share about like what's happening in Denmark, I will do that as well, but for me it was amazing to learn that there is one renewable energy community in Ukraine, and I thought that would be a good example to share. So in Slavutich town, this was the first solar town in Ukraine. I don't know if you know this town, but the story of it is that it was built after the Chernobyl disaster for workers from Chernobyl. So it's kind of a new town. And in 2019, the people and the municipality came together because they wanted to build as many solar panels on the public buildings of the town to also supply that to surrounding people, to supply the electricity produced to the surrounding people, not just to the public buildings like school and shop. So in 2019, they launched a local crowdfunding campaign. So this was actually done without any extra help from the state. They launched a crowdfunding campaign and they asked people who would like to participate and get cheaper electricity to invest minimum 500 euros into renewable energy community. And they got 135,000 euros. With that, they have built 200 kilowatts of solar power on the town's buildings. And for each investment of 500 euros, every participant in this renewable energy community is getting cheaper energy because of the existing electricity market in Ukraine, that the renewable energy is just getting some contributions already. Plus they're getting 70 euros every year because of their investment. So the investment is getting back to them. And that's up to 2030, so it means 10 years of actually getting back the investment. Yeah, and then in Denmark, and I'll show you later, we also learned about renewable energy communities in multi-apartment buildings, and thought that this would be very important to talk about in Lithuania, because we have a lot of these like old Soviet blocks that currently, whose roofs are not being used, and that would be perfect for renewable energy communities. And it's already possible. There's going to be financial support coming up. So currently the Ministry of Environment is preparing the financial support for that. And they will support communities that build solar power on their roofs up to 30 kilowatts. And it's, I think, 323 euros per each kilowatt that they're gonna give. So basically what is happening now, that at least maybe in a month there will be support available, but people still don't know that they should start talking about how to create an energy community in their multi-apartment building, because it also takes some time. So firstly, in the multi-apartment buildings, of course, you would need to collect the permits so that everyone, or 51% of people, agree that something can be built on your roof. Then you also would need to determine how you will share the electricity, whether it will be shared, like divided just the same to everyone, or if someone invests more, maybe they get more electricity. So that also needs to be defined within the building community. And after that, you will just need to make a project and send it to the agency of the projects of the environmental ministry and get funding for it. So this is for multi-apartment buildings. I will get later into more complicated communities there. There will be, there should be and there will be a possibility to sell electricity into grids. So it's very likely that you won't be able to use all the electricity, because it's only 30 kilowatts that the environmental ministry is talking about. So you won't be able to not use all the electricity. Multi-apartment buildings will use all the electricity and will need to buy more from the grid. But if you will build more kilowatts on your roof, there is a possibility to also sell that electricity to the grid and earn money from it. Yeah. And this is a very bad picture, but this is from Copenhagen, which where it's very, I'm really sorry, but very bad picture. But you can see solar panels here on the roofs, and it's definitely much more than 30 kilowatts there. And it's very popular in Copenhagen to use solar panels. And here we visited a social building, social basically community. I don't want to talk too much about Denmark because there's so many people here from Denmark, and they will know better. But basically, the electricity is shared between all the flats, so people get cheaper electricity, and the rest of it either goes to the battery, because there's usually a small battery that also stores the electricity, and if it doesn't fit into the battery anymore, they sell it to the grid. When they sell it to the grid, they get some of the profits, and every year the community gathers together and decides how these profits will be spent. So, for example, in this particular building that we visited, they have built water treatment systems. They have renovated windows for that. They have renovated the roof. So basically, that is a very good way to also get the profits and invest it back to your house. How to establish the renewable energy communities in Lithuania. So just yesterday we released a new guide, a step-by-step guide how to do that. I'm not gonna get into it too much because it's very, very technical. You need to get many permits. But one thing to say, the more power, or like the solar or the wind power that you want to use, the more power you want to install, the more bureaucratic it gets. So so try to think what's the good optimal power that your community needs. So of course, gather your community together if it's not gathered yet, and establish some sort of organization. Register the organization, decide how you're going to share the energy, because that's important for the statutes, and decide how the profit will be used, or who will decide how the profit is used. Manage the required permits. So if you want to establish a renewable energy community up to 30 kilowatts, for example, in the multi-apartment buildings, that's not a lot of permits. So you don't need to worry about that. But if you want to establish a bigger renewable energy community, if you got, for example, land somewhere where you want to build more solar panels, you will need to get permits from our local electricity system operator, as well as the electricity council regulator. If the state support is not enough, launch a crowdfunding campaign. As I mentioned, what happened in Ukraine, they did it without any state support because they launched a crowdfunding campaign, and that worked really well. And I mentioned decide how the community and its profits will be managed. Maybe you want to think about actually paying someone to manage the community, to manage all the solar panels, technical reviews and stuff like that. Your potential partners can be municipalities. Municipalities can be really, really good for this, because they are the ones that can provide you with either land or a public building, like the roof of a public building, that can be used to build solar panels. So collaborating with municipalities is very important. And can be small and medium-sized local businesses. They are good to collaborate because they could be the ones that actually are buying the electricity from you, because usually they have more intense electricity needs. And the solar companies, very important to get them at the start of your community, because they will be the ones that will help you to get the required permits and all of that. They have that knowledge. And this is also just other inspirations from Denmark, which I found very inspiring. So, for example, the mill here, it was built in Twin Town in 1980s. That's also resonating to what was said, that people started caring about renewable power, at least what we've been told, that people in Denmark started caring about renewable energy and community power once when they had oil crisis in 1980s. So once when the oil crisis happened, this was the first all community built windmill, a commercial, kind of like not commercial, it looked like a commercial windmill. It was big, but it was built by the community. And it was ahead of its time, because only in 3 or 4 years the commercial, the companies started building the same windmills. So people actually built the windmill before the companies. And I was really inspired by this story, that people just crowdfunded, but also, not just crowdfunded, but also got their work skills together to build something like this. And then also we visited another community in Denmark, in Feiborn. My name spelling may be really, really bad, but where people also crowdfunded for 4 huge windmills, and they crowdfunded it not just for themselves. I think it was around 8,000 people participating in the crowdfunding campaign. So they're getting the cheaper electricity, but they're also selling this electricity to the grid, a lot of electricity to the grid, and they getting the profit back to the municipality, and the municipality is investing into town's projects, and this town is very happy about having these windmills. And I mean, Denmark, it was amazing for community energy, because about 80% of renewable energy is actually owned by community, That's also to do with the laws that Denmark had, because there was a law that any company building wind power mills actually had to offer 20% of the shares of the wind power to the local community. And I mentioned this guide. I wasn't really sure how this presentation, like how we're gonna present it here, so I did everything. There's the guide here, you can scan a QR code for it, and I also put the link as well in there. But our website is not as friendly, so it's a very long link, I'm very sorry. But if you go on the circular economy.lt and you just search for Bendrijų gidas, that will be the first page to come up. And and you will get all the detailed steps of how to establish a renewable energy community. And then I also, because I only learned like a few days ago that European Commission is launching a rural energy community advisory hub, so I don't know if it's any interest for you here, but I wanted to share that there is a possibility if you want to build solar panels or windmill or whatever outside of Vilnius, so it can be basically small towns in Lithuania. People can now apply for technical assistance, for free technical assistance and funding at the European Commission. And there's also a link here, or you can find it in Rural Energy Community Advisory Hub. So I'm hoping that this helps. And that's it from me. I'm just like the 2 cents of this from myself is that I'm also hoping that in Lithuania the communities will start appearing. As I mentioned, we do need the financial support, because without financial support people won't pick it up. But also technical support, because it's very, I was trying to figure out how to make this guide step by step, and it's very complicated. So I imagine if somebody wants to, start a community and they have a choice to just build a solar panel for themselves, rather than just starting a community, they will probably choose to just build the solar panels for themselves, because it takes a lot of time and different institutions to get to the community level. So I'm just hoping that the Energy Ministry of Lithuania will also think about some sort of competency center where technical advice can be provided to people who want to establish the communities.